This pandemic is crippling.
Impatience is growing and growing, and our frustration is showing and showing. But yeah, we keep going and going. But it's family forever. We've done it over and over. Will we ever reach the end? How do we get through life? Do we have to fight? Awake ourselves, start the winning night. Maybe we can redefine what it means to get in time. Might we take the chance to fight the fight we seek? We can make a getaway. Understand this the end. Maybe we can break away. Here we stand. Run away before we surrender. Run away before we surrender. We can make a getaway. Understand this the end. Maybe we can break away. Here we stand. Run away before we surrender. We can make a getaway. Understand this the end. Maybe we can break away. Here we stand. Run away before we surrender. Run away before we surrender.
Hello and welcome everybody. It's Sunday afternoon, which means it is time for the final race in the Formula 1 cars here at Russia to round out the Misfits Racing League week of action here at Sochi. And joining me for the first time since I think Vietnam, Cool Manic. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing very well. I think actually the last time I commentated was Bahrain, but yeah, it's been a while. I'm filling in for Seb, who isn't available today, but I'm certainly looking forward to this race at the Sochi Autodrom.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been a action-packed week here at Sochi. We've got 18 turns and some very, very interesting overtake opportunities, especially down into that turn 2, into the long left-hander that is turn 3. It is a very unique piece of track. Looking to the standings, we have Ben the Bear carving a massive lead out at the front. The Mercedes driver sits ahead of Mikkel on 327 points with a huge number of race wins. He has won 12 races and he's been on the podium 13 times. The only other time he was on the other podium was last week in Singapore, where he came second after, well, penalties applied post-race, relegated him to P2. Mikkel, well, he won last week's race as a result of that penalty in Singapore. He sits on 274 points ahead of the other Mercedes. Captain a goal, a great run for the German team. Remco Van Putten, the Dutchman, he sits in fourth on 134 points ahead of Cello on 71 points, just 1 point ahead of Panda in the Williams. The midfield here is so very tight. Then we have Trin on 66 points in 7th, Emzo in 8th on 66. Then Eccentric in 1 Ferrari with 56. His teammate 2 points behind him. The 2 Ferraris have been going head-to-head all season long. And then outside the top 10, we have T-Mac, Stars, Sid, Shrimp, Sandeezy, Rez, Matt, Yukio, and then Dor Shui over in the other Williams. But it has been quite the campaign so far for this APAC division. We have had a huge number of rounds so far. We're on round 17. It has breezed by. There is only 5 to go after this one. And obviously, next week we go over to Japan for Suzuka, a very iconic track. Then, of course, USA, Mexico, Brazil to round everything out in 5 weeks' time over in Abu Dhabi. With that being said, we should just be about ready to get things going here for Sochi. Come on, any predictions ahead of this one as to what you think we might see here around Russia?
Well, I think we might see a continuation of what we've seen over the season so far, which is Ben the Bear and Mika, clearly the 2 best drivers here, taking 13 podiums each, which is a big number. And then you look further down and they've really been shared out between people like Stars, Eccentric, Trim, Panda, Cello. So it'll be interesting to see who can maybe join them on the podium, or if someone else can get their first win of the season. I've been told we're waiting 2 minutes for Sid, and we'll see if he arrives. But apart from that, we should be getting underway pretty soon.
Yeah, the win situation, it's been a weird one so far. You know, we've had a huge number of rounds. We've done 16 races so far, and we've only had 2 winners. Ben, he's won 12. The other 4 wins have gone to Mikkel over in the AlphaTauri. So we've had a few times where it's looked like someone else could pick up a win. Captain a gold, Remco, both of them have looked like they've got the pace to pick up 1 win. I know Captain really wants 1 under his belt. They've got 6 races, including this one, to pick 1 up. But it's racing. Anything can happen here to, you know, be a bit random. Have a little bit of a curveball thrown at you. You know, there's been races. It's just been Ben and Mikkel picking up each other's pieces. You've had Austria, where it did not go Mikkel's way at all. He came back, it didn't go his way again. Ben picked up the win there. You know, you've got the races like Bahrain, where it didn't go for Ben. Mikkel picked up the pieces, came in with the win. It has been a hard-fought battle between both of them. And as a result, no one else has really seen the light of day on the top spot. So we've had a lot of other podium finishes. I think at least 7 other people on the podium. You know, Captain Remco, that 3rd spot has really been theirs. 8 podiums for Captain of Gold and 6 for Remco Van Putten. But neither of them have ever achieved the top spot. We'll see whether that can change tonight. And I know that the pace is definitely there for both of them. You know, Remco Van Putten, he's already done a race around here. He took part in the Tier 1 division on Thursday evening. And that race was pretty dramatic. He scored some strong points there, put up some great defensive drives. Particularly, my mind wanders to the one where he held Richie going through turn 2 into turn 3. And Richie, he's fighting for the Tier 1 championship there. So Remco Van Putten definitely looking strong. It looks like we are readying up now, getting things underway here in Russia. And, well, then it's only time will tell as to who will sit on the top stop of that podium. Also worth pointing out that we are on dynamic weather. We haven't seen any rain yet, cool Manic, but Do you think we might see some tonight?
Well, it's certainly possible, but as you said, we haven't seen it so far, and that sort of shows what the weather is like at Russia. But anything can happen, and I think it will definitely make the race a lot more interesting if it does happen. But I don't know really who it benefits, to be honest. Like, I know everyone, people don't really practice in the rain, but they practice quite a bit in the dry, and then they have to be able to adapt to those wet conditions, and it'll be interesting to see how they do that here in Russia, as we are going to get into this 18-minute short qualifying session, and we'll see what the drivers can do in terms of lap time.
Yeah, absolutely, and it sort of stems to the setups as well. I think play a huge role when it comes to the wet weather. Some people, they just have a knack for tuning a setup to perfection when it comes to altering a dry setup into a wet setup, or just having the planning to have a wet setup for every track, and that can really benefit you when the rain does fall down, the heavens open. We're loading in now. Are we going to see any rain? Time should not be decent. We do have a driver host, which is absolutely lovely, which means that when we get that clock in the top left, we will be able to. And there we are. It's pretty overcast here in Sochi. No rain falling. Hopefully someone could come across with a weather forecast, as we have a little bit of a technical issue here. Fingers crossed that doesn't cause too many problems here with my wheel being broken. We are relegated to a traditional Xbox controller. But there we are. We have 13 drivers right now on this grid. Remco Van Putten currently at the top of the title. Dorshui in second. Eccentric, Cello, combined YouTuber, Kojak, Panda, Ben the Bear, Matt, Mikkel, Captain of Gold, Rez, and Sandeezy there. You can see that most people on the soft compound tire.
Yeah, most, but apart from Ben in the Mercedes, we've seen him go for some wacky strategies before, but this is just earlier in the qualifying session, maybe looking to set a banker on the medium tyres, maybe looking to set a good time and see if he can get a decent grid position where he's willing to start on the medium tyres. I'm not sure of the strategy here, but he's following the racing point of Sandeezy. So we'll see if he sticks behind or if he's going to go past the Sandeezy. He does slow down to let him pass at turn 3, but it looks like the first man out on track is Cello in the McLaren.
Yeah, strategy should be a simple soft medium or a medium soft. The hards around here pretty slow. You can see, one or two people gamble on them, but because of that pace disadvantage, you really just see people opting for the one-stop soft medium. When that's available, you got to really take it. It's too powerful, and the mediums can basically do the entire race around here. So they are a very flexible and versatile tire to be using. But yeah, like you said, Cello, he will be first out of the track. He will be the first person to set a flying lap unless one of these two cars behind him. I do believe that's Mikkel and Remco behind him there.
Yeah, indeed, it is. They are two of the fastest drivers in the division, so we'll see what they can do. Yellow flags, I think that's just for some cars going slowly, as Cello seems to be bunching everyone up. Mikkel trying to leave a bit of space for him to close into so that he doesn't get affected by dirty air. But Ben the Bear has caught right up to the back of Remco, and hopefully they don't get all tangled up on their hot laps, but coming up to the last two corners, they've got to make some space. Mikkel has done so, but the others are really having to slow down to try and make the space, but at the same time, that means they lose temperature in their tyres, which could be crucial, especially on the mediums that Ben is on, so it'll be interesting to see what he can do. But Cello is on to the first flying lap of this session.
Yeah, he's got DRS. He's come out of turn 1, basically invisible. This is the real first braking point. Turn 2, nicely done through there. Gets it through without invalidating. That's particularly important, particularly on your banker as well. Keeping it tight to the left of the track now. Coming through the long left-hander of turn 3 into 4. Doesn't necessarily go quite as tight through there as you might want, but still, this is a banker lap. Just keeping it nice, calm and collected. Of course, a purple sector time as he comes through turn 5 now. Down through another very fast corner, turn 6 into turn 7. A bit of a tricky one there. Not too fast, not too slow. Just have to be really careful on the throttle. Now coming through 8 and 9 into 10. This one, a particularly important corner because you have to get on the power. Get out of it as quickly as you can to carry as much speed as you can through the fast right left of 11-12. That is basically just one long DRS straight, but it does curve a little bit down then into the heavy braking zone. Turn 13, you can see a few lunges through here during the race. 14 and now into sector 3. The 90-degree corners that it's ever so famous for now. 15 into 16, a particularly hard traction zone around here in Russia. Now gunning it to the penultimate corner, turn 17. Nice on the inside there, just avoiding the sausage curb on the inside through 18, the last corner into the line. It's a 130.2. I definitely think we're going to see an improvement on that at some point. There it is, a 129.6 coming out of Mikkel. We're on board with Remco Van Putten as he goes second fastest, a 129.8. Where is Ben the Bear going to land himself? Well, he's
Ben the Bear's
invalidated.
invalidated. Yeah, he invalidated. I think it was somewhere around maybe turn 10 or something, and I switched back to him and invalidated. But it looks like he's going to go for another lap on these mediums, turns up the ERS, tries to get the best sets he can out of turn 18, and he's going to have another crack at it here after that invalidation. See if he can get up there with Mikkel and Remco in the mid to high 29s.
Yeah, someone else we've seen over the last few weeks have a great run of form. Captain of Gold now to the line of the other Mercedes, only on 130.4. Possibly going again here. He's got some ERS here. Not quite sure what's happened there for the Mercedes. Definitely got more pace than that, at least at other tracks. Maybe Russia, a bit of a weak spot, but I don't think he was not confident coming into this one. So we'll see what he can do. But both Mercedes right now seem to be struggling in the early portions of qualifying, and we saw them struggle yesterday in real life in qualifying. Wonder whether that curse is just continuing here over in the virtual world. Combined YouTube, he's flying, but we'll go back on board with Ben the Bear, who will finish his flying lap first. He comes through turn 10, which is where you thought he might have invalidated last time. Gets through there okay this time. Now on to 11 and 12. This DRS back straight, if you want to call it that. It looks a lot more curved on the track map there as he comes down into turn 13. But the medium tyres, I wonder where he lands himself in this grid. I reckon he could pull off a 130 on these tyres.
Yeah, certainly. And actually, I'd just like to point out he went purple in sector 1, so he was up by about a tenth on Mikkel's time on softs. Wasn't as close on the second sector, but coming through these last two corners, it'll be interesting to see where he goes. I reckon he'll be top 3 at least, but through turn 18, he's going to come to the line, and it's going to be 9th. So we lost a lot of time there in sectors 2 and 3, having been up on Mikkel in sector 1. So maybe a couple of mistakes, maybe the medium's just not giving him the grip that he wants, but I reckon we'll see him later in the session go on the softs and take pole.
Yeah, surely you have to see him come out on softs. You don't want to be putting yourself at such a disadvantage. He's on for a strong championship here. I don't know how close it is to him rounding it out. I think in the coming weeks we're going to have to do the maths on that one, because it's not going to be too long, I think, until it's almost impossible for Mikkel to dethrone the tyre driver. But here we go. We've got combined YouTuber coming through the final corner. Where can he set himself? P12, a 131.420. Just 2/200ths of Kojak there. Dorshui, he's set to set a lap time, and well, everyone else just sitting in the pit lane. Ben and Combine on in laps, but so far Mikkel, fastest driver out on track. Remco Van Putten, P2. A little bit surprising not to see either Mercedes in the top 5, not even the top 3, but the top 5 they're absent from. Captain in 8th, Ben in 9th right now. Probably going to be up there at the end of the session, but right now it is not the case for either of them. Cello, he is back out on track in the McLaren, as are a few of the other drivers now. We've got the Williams of, well, we'll see whether it's Dorshui or Panda. But let's go on board with Cello for the time being.
It is Panda that is coming out of the pits, and he's being followed by Sandizi and also the Ferrari of Combined YouTube. No, that's not Combined, sorry, that's the other Ferrari of Eccentric, who's currently in 3rd, coming out again on the softs. Sandizi here in 4th. So these guys coming back out on the softs, and they'll be looking to improve maybe before we're having one final run right at the end of the session. But it'll be interesting to see how they do, as we see again a similar sort of bunching up. Panda taking it slowly, Sandizi as well, but Cello once again is the lead car in this second round of hot laps, and it'll be interesting to see what he can do.
And Eccentric there on the podium, he's actually been up there more times than most drivers. He's been on there twice so far this season. He sits in 9th place, but if you were to, base this on podiums, then he would be 5th. But obviously consistency is key. We'll see whether the Ferrari driver can make it 3 tonight. But here we go. We're on board with Cello. He was the first flying lap. Now he is the first person to get onto his second flying lap, with the exception of Ben, who just did 2 in a row. But fresh tyres for the McLaren. A 130.2, his current best. There's a lot of people on that time. Sandizi just ahead on a 130.1. If he can find 2.5 tenths here, he can see himself catapulted into that top 3 from 6th on the grid. running just a little bit off of the white line there. Maybe a little wider than you would like, but nothing too bad. A little bit tighter than his previous attempt through 4 as well. So definitely improving. As you can see there, a 1.5 improvement through Sector 1 alone here. Track already starting to get rubbered in and just getting faster as the more cars get through, and track evolution definitely I think we'll certainly see the lap times crumble in the final 5 minutes of the session. That's when it's at its fastest. Now Cello coming out of turn 10 into the DRS zone to take him through 11. Now towards turn 12. He's still just flying down. What's the time like? He's up a little bit more. Sector 2, you don't always see huge gains through there. It's Sector 3 here where a lap is won or lost due to this tricky traction zone here. 15 into 16. Nice and composed. Not necessarily the quickest I've ever seen anyone go through there, but certainly not too bad. Not losing that rear end is very important through there. Gets it done on the inside into 17. Just about clipping the sausage curve, but not doing anything too bad. And there it is, P3, 2.5 tenths found. And it is third place for Cello. He becomes the third person to go sub 130 by just 8 thousandths of a second. Let's go on board with Eccentric then. He was in the top 3. He's on for an improvement, and that will be enough, even though it's less than a tenth, to see him back into the top 3. But again, Sector 3, it's a very, very important section of track. One of the Red Bulls is ahead of him. I do think that is going to be Rez. We'll see whether he jumps up. No, it's Remco. Remco, 129.622 puts him top of the timing tower. Can Eccentric do anything about that? He was a little bit off at the start, but now hops back into P3. A nice time from here, 29.7. Sandeezy, well, he's on an invalid run. He's going to go again here, but he's already made a big mistake. He's slid through the final corner, and that will not help him. Rez now to the line. He goes to the top 5, so good for the Red Bull squad. Back up into the top 5 for them. Captain of Gold, what can he produce here? He is up by an astonishing amount of time. Maybe even going to slipstream off of his teammate, and that sees him half a second up into the top 5. And now Ben the Bear, he starts to fly on softs, Kulmanek.
Yeah, this top 5 is constantly changing, and Mika, who was on provisional pole previously, actually invalidated his last attempt at a flying lap, so I think he'll get one more in the remaining 6 minutes and 50 seconds of this session. But we do have Ben the Bear now coming through turn 3, and this is his first proper lap on the softs, and we'll see if he can get right up there with Remco, who has done a 129.6. And yeah, and he goes purple in the first sector. And I also want to point out that I think Cello was purple in the first sector on his run, and actually was equal to the time that Ben did on the medium. So it's very interesting to see how Ben on the mediums could match Cello in that sector 1, and they were both quicker than Mikhail's initial run. But Ben the Bear now coming through turn 10 onto this back straight, which isn't completely straight, but it's still a straight flat out, a DRS zone, and using all the gears, using all the ERS, and the DRS is available, of course, in qualifying, and it'll be interesting to see what the split time is here. He's 8 tenths up, which would put him almost on pole. He'd just be a few hundredths off at this rate, but we know he's very fast. Not quite the optimal line through turn 13 and turn 14, but maybe he can gain it back, as you say, in this traction drone zone of turn 16, coming up to the final 2 corners. He was up by quite a bit, and I think we will see him extend that and take pole here as he comes through the final corner. Puts up the apex nicely and comes across the line to take pole by 5 tenths of a second. Wow.
If I'm not mistaken, I do believe that is a new MRL lap record. I would have to have someone... Oh, no, it's a 29. So, no, we've definitely done a 28 here. I saw the 0.1. I was like, that's an astonishing time. But, yeah, Ben on pole by a massive amount of time here. I think we've had 28s, though, in the past. But for Ben's first soft run, we'll see what he could do in the final 5 minutes. Definitely, I think, possible of getting into those 28s. Sandeezy as well. He opted into P2, now P3, of course, but drops down Mikau. He is just waiting for a, clear track. He's out on an outlap right now.
Yeah, just to confirm, the lap record is a 28.69, so that is the lap record. We're half a second off that at the moment, but of course, more laps left to come in the last 5 minutes, and we'll see what they can do. As Mikhail looks like he is coming out of the pits for another go on these soft tires.
Yeah, flying right now in the Alpha Tauri. We'll see what he's capable of. He's waited a fair amount of time here to get this run in. We'll see whether he's got time for another one after this, or whether he's saving his softs, but he is, capable of getting a good lap time in. He is only, 700ths off of P2 right now, and with the track at a much better stance than it was when he did his first lap, as he uses all of the outside curb, miraculously not invalidating Mikkel. He is, an excellent driver. He knows where those limits are, and he is not extending them. He's just using them to their fullest. Now, DRS, you can see that rear wing just popping wide open now as he comes through turn 11 into 12 now. And across the timing line, that is good enough for P2. He just needs to hold it now through the final sector and maybe give himself a bit of a buffer to Remco Van Putten, who is also on an outlap and potentially could see a slipstream from his teammate. They're both on outlaps, though, so we'll be a bit off. But, Mikkel through 16 cuts the corner. And that is not what you want to see on what would have been a P2 run.
Yeah, that is a shame for Mikkel. That's the second time he's invalidated a lap and had to abort, but he will get one more run on the soft tyres in the remaining 3 minutes. Down to 4th now, behind Sandeezy, Remco and Ben the Bear, and half a second behind Ben. And I'm sure he can make it up considering his first lap was right at the start of the session, but it won't be easy as we see everyone now coming out for their final laps. Panda, who's just retired from the session on track. We also have Dor Shui, the other Williams, as well as the Mercedes, I believe, of Captain Gold, and the Ferrari of Combined YouTuber, all on outlaps, as well as Matt, who is a bit further up the road from them, now coming into the 3rd sector.
Yeah, well, there's a little bit of traffic as the Red Bulls come down towards turn 2. Remco right now swinging through there. You can see the McLaren ahead of Cello. He's on an outlap, so he should get out of the way here quite nicely for Remco, who is flying now, coming through into turn 4. You can see there Cello knocking over the pole on the inside of the 4th corner just to get out of Remco's way. Remco's teammate Rez not too far ahead and not close enough for slipstream. A little bit of a correction as he comes through 5 now, but nothing that should stop him. But that's going to put a stop to his lap. That is a huge slide through turn 7, and the Red Bull is really struggling right now. He is really not in control of that car. We'll see whether Rez can control the bull a little bit easier as he flies down this back DRS straight. 2.5 tenths up for the other Red Bull driver. This would see him jump potentially even into the top 5 if he can get this final sector nailed here. And you can see now the track evolution really aiding them now. Ben the Bear, he's on an outlap as well. He'll be getting through a little bit wide through 16 for Rez as the Red Bull now, well, that's straight into the pit lane. I don't know if he was intending to do
the
that.
session.
It's odd as well because he would have improved unless his sector 3 was really hindered by that wide.
It's strange. His session is now over, as we see. I believe Remco's also coming to the pit, so I think he just had one moment, and that meant the tyres heated up, and that was basically that run done. But now we see Ben coming onto his final flying lap of the session on the soft tyres. I think he might just be chasing that MRL lap record on this lap.
Well, you want to see it. Always records are there to be broken. Interesting thing is, though, that record was set with the aid of a teammate, Slipstream. So Ben doesn't look like that will be available to him unless Captain Gold is able to slow down in time. And it looks like he is going slowly here. So the Australian might be helping out his Thai teammate here. Give him a tow down out of turn 10 through 11 into 12, pulling off to the right, getting out of his teammate's way here. And it looks like that is exactly what we're going to go. We're going to go on board with Ben the Ben. Now, here we go. What are we going to see here from the Mercedes duo? I think Captain's going a little too slowly here. He is. Ben gets past him with ease. Might be a slight improvement on his lap time, but I think they've just miscalculated that a little bit. 2 tenths up for Ben. That is not going to be enough to slash the lap record here. But, well, Sector 3, we'll see what he can do. Ben is on controller. This, I do believe, is a wheel-biased track, so it's a little bit of a disadvantage right now as he comes through the penultimate corner into the final corner. This will be an improvement, and it is a 128.761. It was close, but it's not quite enough here. But a very, very strong lap. Remco's in P2. Can Sand easy beat that? Maybe Mikkel as well. Both on flyers right now. Right now, the Racing Point struggling through turn 16 as they come down towards the penultimate corner. What is he going to be able to do? Can he beat Remco's time? Get P2 over that board. It's only 500th of a second, and he can. He improves by 2/10. That is a huge improvement right now.
Yeah,
Mikau's on for it as well. Can he find it as he comes down the final corner? He can't. It's only good enough for P3 for the Australian. So it's Sandeezy on the front row of this grid. And I think, cool, that's just about wrapped everything up here in qualifying for Sochi.
Yeah, when I switched to Mikau, it said like 2 temps up, so I believe that's where he was at the end of the second sector, but obviously lost a bit of time to his previous best lap in the last sector, and that means that he has to start third. But third, actually, I believe, is one of the best starting positions here. You've got that long run down to the first braking zone of turn 2, and if you can just get into the slipstream of the pole sitter, you can really go for a move into that right-hander. So it'll be interesting to see what he can do. Sandeezy might be a bit of a sitting duck there, starting on the outside, I believe, of the front row, but that's going to play a part in the dynamics of the start, and we'll see what they can all do from their respective starting positions.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you say, P3, not a bad place to start here in Russia. It just depends. You need the start off the line. If the person in pole position beats you off the line, you don't get that slipstream. We saw it with Scars in Tier 2 this week. He was in P3, poised for an excellent race start, didn't get it, which was, pretty bizarre. You saw him get mugged down into the first corner, had a really troublesome first lap, but he did come away with a podium there and even possibly a win. I can't quite remember, but he had a very good race in the end, but it wasn't without its dramas. And I don't think this race is going to be any different. I think we will see a bit of drama here. Late safety cars have been the theme of the week, and it's very possible that we see something like that here. A late safety car in Russia has provided 2 great finales to races so far across all the MRL divisions. If you're just joining us, this is Misfits Racing League APAC action here in Sochi, and of course it's on the YouTube channel on the Sunday. A big shout out to everyone watching at home, and a big shout out to our partners as well. Next Level Racing, if you're looking for a sim racing rig, motion platform, wheel stand, that kind of thing, be sure to check them out in the link in the description down below. They're doing great things for the sim racing community, and it would mean the world if you could go and check them out over on their website. But here in Sochi, Ben the Bear takes pole by a whopping 7/10 here, or near enough. He is 0.699 ahead of Sandeezy in P2, who beats out Mikau, the championship runner-up right now in the AlphaTauri. Remco Van Putten starts fourth. Eccentric rounds out the top 5, and we'll go through the rest of this grid in a moment, cool, when we get on the formation lap. But, well, it was a pretty interesting qualifier. It's a very tight mid-portion of the field, and I think we might see a fair bit of overtaking, and maybe even some fights down into the second corner.
Yeah, as you said, P3 to P5, only a 10th and a half between them, and then P6 to P8, only 400ths between those 3 drivers in qualifying. That was Cello, Captain of Gold, and Rez, so all really close there, and that could give us a good indicator that they are very closely matched on pace, and throughout the many laps that we have in this 50% race today, they could be battling it out on this Sochi circuit. But 15 seconds until the start of the formation lap, where we'll see what some of those drivers out of the top 10, 3 of them here, Dorshui, Kojaki, and Matt, we'll see what tyres they start on. They could start on the softs, they could start on the mediums. It'll be interesting to see what they go for as we are about to come on to the formation lap.
Yeah, absolutely. And 13 drivers, that means, points on the table for most of these guys here, and points in this late stage of the championship now, including this one, only 6 rounds to go until the final checkered flag in Abu Dhabi. And, well, let's have a look. Only Matt opting for the mediums. Everyone else on the soft compound tyre. And that is pretty interesting. Usually you'd see a few people go for the alternate strategy. And if it works out for Matt here, a well-timed safety car for him, well, he could be on for some really strong points, get himself out of P13. So let's have a look then. Ben the Bear, we saw him a dominant performance in qualifying. We'll see whether that translates to a dominant performance in the race for the Thai driver. Sandeezy behind him, followed by his fellow countryman Mikau in that strong starting position of 3rd place. Remco Van Putten, he'll have a tow down into turn 2 as well from Sandeezy. So watch out for the Dutchman in the first couple of corners. Eccentric starts 5th. Cello in 6th. Then Captain of Gold in the other Mercedes. Not his best qualifying of the season, but 7th place for him. and we've seen him. He's like to gain a few places in the races, score some strong points. He's been on the podium quite a few times in the last few weeks. We'll see whether he can continue that form here today. Rez starts 8th, Panda in 9th, and combined YouTuber rounds out the top 10. Then outside of it, Dorshui and Kojak both opting for the soft tires despite having free tire choice, just wanting to keep up with the DRS train, I imagine. And Matt, the only person on this grid to start on the mediums, starts 13th. That is the final position we do have on this grid today. Only 13 drivers here for 27 laps here around the Sochi Autodrom in Russia. Put your predictions in the chat as to who you've got for this race win. Safety cars, that kind of thing. But cool, Manic, we're in for a very, very interesting race, I think, as we come down now. Everyone, you can see there, the AI is taking control and making their way to the grid. And we'll see what happens in the opening stage of this race.
Yes, certainly. Just a bit more info on Matt. He was over a second up on his final lap, and he ran out of fuel, so that's very unfortunate for him. He certainly would have started a few more positions up the grid, but that is an indicator of his pace, and maybe on these mediums he can try and make up some positions, as he's actually instructed to take that strategy by Tier 1 driver Freeware. So we'll see what everyone can do now. 13 drivers coming up to 27 laps of the Sochi Autodrom for APAC Division of MRL.
Here we go then. 3, 4, 5 red lights here on in Russia. And there we are. It's lights out and away we go. And Ben seems to have got a great start. Mikau, though, what a launch he's had off the line. He has already passed the racing point. He's side by side. But Ben is there ahead of Sandeezy. Sandeezy now carrying a bit more speed as they go down towards turn 2. Mikau later on the race around the outside. There's been a bit of a kerfuffle behind. There's 3 cars going into turn 2. End plates are flying. But most people, in fact everyone, has made it around. You can see there Sandeezy now drops 2 places as Remco Van Vleuten looks around the outside of turn 4, gets in a little bit of contact with the racing point. We saw Lance Stroll go off there in real life F1. It's now Cello and Eccentric side by side as they come through turn 5. ERS enabled for the McLaren. A little bit of a wheel bang between the two. They're still side by side as they come through 6 into 7. And Cello just gets him on the inside now. Captain of Gold. We love to see him make a few positions. He's looking for it, but he's lost one of his end plates. So is the Ferrari. So is the Williams, who sneaks up the inside. He's looking for both of them as they go down towards turn 10. There's a lot of cars here. Rez sneaks up the inside of the Mercedes. Doesn't get that done. And now he finds himself vulnerable to the Williams. It's Dorshui around the outside of turn 11. Looking for the pace. Obviously no DRS at this stage as they come down towards turn 13 for the first time. Rez late on the brakes as he goes down. You can see Captain there on the inside. Eccentric there. P6 holding off Panda. Captain holds on to P8. And what an opening lap as Panda gets a bit skew whiff off of the curb at turn 15. But my oh my, what an opening lap.
Yeah, the top 4 just pulling away. Amazing first few corner sequence for them as we see quite a few drivers coming to the pits. We saw some end plates go flying, and I also saw Panda go for a couple really late moves into, I believe, turn 10 and then turn 13. So a couple of aggressive moves coming out of him, and now actually a bit of a gap has formed as my timing screen is broken, but it looks like Ben is still leading, and then behind him is Mikau.
Rez and Panda. It is Mikau in P2. Rez, Panda, side by side. They just exchanged through 2. Now as they come through 3 into 4, it is the Red Bull who comes out on top. A bit of a contact between the 2, and the Williams is out. He slams into the wall, and that is a lap 2 safety car as we have problems here. But oh my goodness, we have a safety car, and you gotta say it looked like it was coming with a couple of people into the pits already. But there it is. Safety car brought out. Lap 2. Let's see. Does anyone pit for mediums to go to the end of this race?
Yeah, I think it's certainly possible, as you said. So we might see a couple of people coming, especially those who have lost an end plate or 2 in the opening kerfuffle. But 25 laps left to run, and those top 4 seem to have a significant pace advantage over those behind, although those behind were really fighting it out. We saw through the first 4 corners, those top 4 were so close together. I believe Remco was almost pushing Mikau through turn 3 at one point, and it got really tight, and they seem to be well matched on pace. So maybe on the safety car restart, we can have some more battles, as it looks like people are coming into the pits.
Yeah, absolutely. I imagine you got to go mediums to the end now. Or at least mediums until the next safety car. Now,
Yeah,
I think Eccentric's going to be too far back to gain any positions here, but Matt... Well, cool. This is going to be brilliant news for him. Rez as well has to stay out, but Matt now lies P2 on the medium compound tires. A couple of people going for the hards. Remco Van Putten, Kojak, Captain, all have gone for the hard compound tires, which is an interesting call. Mediums can make it to the end from here, especially since it's a lap 2 safety car, not even a lap 1.
Yeah, certainly. Rez forced to stay out, of course, having to avoid that double stack with his teammate Remco as the game. Doesn't seem to like double stacks generally, but Ben the Bear now is going to catch up to Matt and Rez, and I think he is the big issue here for Matt. Ben the Bear is such a strong driver, and I wouldn't be surprised if he can quickly deal with Matt and then Rez off this safety car restart. We also might see Rez pit next lap, and then just come out at the back where he is as possible as Matt. He is in a strong position, but he has to pit still, so that's the slight issue for him is everyone else doesn't, well, everyone else behind him does not have to pit for the remainder of this race, so he is P2, but we'll see how that goes. Maybe he can get a lucky safety car later on as well, but yeah, in a strong position here, but Ben the Bear, Mika, Remco, and Sandizi. Remco gone for the hard tyres.
And I don't know why we've seen him do that either. He is someone who has brilliant tyre management. Maybe not aware of the medium's lifespan here at Sochi and that they can go to the end, so he just thinks he's got to take hards all the way to the checkered flag, but we'll see how that plays out for him. He should have a little bit more pace compared to everyone else at the end of things, but if he loses out in the early stages after the safety car restart, that could be bad news for the Red Bull driver. Right now it's Rez in lead of things in the other Red Bull. Matt follows behind him in P2. Then we have Ben the Bear, Mikau, Remco Van Putten round out the top 5. Sandizi, Cello, Kojak, Combined YouTuber, and Dor Shui for the top 10. Then Eccentric and Captain of Gold, the only person who's not caught back up to the safety car, in 12th place. And then the retiree who brought out this safety car, Panda, had a big incident coming out of turn 4 into the inside wall. Very unfortunate to see the Williams out of this one. And for Cello in the standings, this is great news. He needs to extend that gap for P5, and he will do so today, provided he finishes in the top 10.
Yeah, as we see Captain of Gold, has he pitted twice? Is that why he's so far behind? I'm not quite sure, but he will catch up to the rest of the grid. Yeah, he has pitted twice. I'm not sure why, but he will catch up eventually. As I expect this will be the last lap for the on the safety car before we get underway. Rez will, of course, control this restart as he hasn't pitted the second time around. So he's not in a great position, but I don't really think his position is any worse than Matt's, as they're both in good position on track, but strategically they both have to pit again, so it really doesn't help them too much.
Yeah, Rez needs to run away at the start of the safety car. He's on the soft compound tyre. He should have a bit more pace in that Red Bull than most other people in this grid. Obviously, you've got Ben the Bear there, who is an absolute weapon. He is so quick and is leading this championship by a huge number of points for a reason. You've got Mikau, Remco as well. Huge threats there. Remco, though, if he is a little bit of a cork in the bottle on those hard tyres, holds up Sandizi. He's a great defensive driver. We've seen it around here this week at a Tier 1 race where he reserved for the Red Bull squad. But if he can slow those guys up, that could give Rez a great opportunity. Matt as well, because they can start to extend their gap, make that, you know, the damage the pit stop does to your race a little bit lesser, and we'll see what happens. But the Red Bull right now is going to be the only things. We should get the race control message when they cross the timing line in just a moment, and well, it's not coming up. Fingers crossed. There it is, as the safety car slows right down to a crawl into turn 13, and Rez now has to maintain the pace here in the Red Bull. And we'll see what he opts to do here when he decides to hammer down, get that Red Bull going. A popular spot is, of course, out of 17 in between the penultimate and the final corner. But you can also do it out of the final corner as well. Safety car not in the pit lane yet. Has to wait for that.
Yeah, he is keeping the pace up here, not slowing down as much as we have seen some other drivers do. But he looks like he's gradually picking up the pace here, coming into turn 17.
Well, there he goes.
Yeah, he's gone a bit didn't look that great, but he has that Matt slightly 8/10 of a second. But Ben the Bear is all over the back of Matt. He's using his ERS, as is Matt, of course, to try and defend. But Ben the Bear wants to get past as quick as possible and maybe hope that Matt can hold up those behind Mikau and Remco. As Ben looks to the inside, I think he should get this move done pretty easily. Both of the drivers on mediums, and Matt actually has to go slightly off track there, as he does eventually concede the position coming through turn 3, and Ben the Bear has already dealt with Matt, as Mikau now will try and deal with Matt down the inside. He does send it very late on contact, and he's spun out. Mikau has spun, he's collected Sandizia. Oh no, two of the fastest drivers here in this race are severely impaired by that incident between Mikau and Matt, but in the end it's Sandizi and Mikau who have both lost out. I think Sandizi more harmed than Mikau, but both of them taking the full brunt of that crash, and not much Mikau could do there. Just a bit of contact with the late move, and that meant that Sandizi had nowhere to go, I don't think.
Well, Sandizi's now got no front wing, as the controller still having issues, which is unfortunate. We'll go back to keyboard for the time being. And Combined on the rear of Eccentric here. Can he find a move down into turn 13? He can't. And the Ferrari will stick behind for the time being. Kojak, he is on those hard tires. He is going to be a little bit slower, you would imagine.
Yeah, and this has really given Ben some breathing space. Already 2 seconds back to Remco, as Remco will look to try and get past Matt, I reckon, down into turn 2. They're both using ERS coming out of the final corner in a similar situation we saw with Ben and Matt, but this time Remco has the tire disadvantage, and looks like Matt actually is matching him in the straights, if not pulling away slightly, as we see behind from Giant really closing up on Kojak. We'll see if he goes for a late lunge. He doesn't get his car really alongside enough to warrant space, but luckily for him, Kojak does leave the space, and now he'll be trying to use this grip advantage of the mediums through turn 3. He's not quite going to make it, and he'll have to stick behind through turn 4, but wait for another opportunity, as it looks like Remco has now dealt with Matt coming out of turn 4 and into turn 5.
Yeah, absolutely, as these guys still battle out for 8th place. The Renault right now doing a brilliant job at holding off Combined for P6, and this is slowing up both Ferraris. And we mentioned before the race that these two are locked in combat for that championship points, and those positions between the two Ferraris, it's 9th and 10th right now. 2 points separate the two. Combined actually the one behind, so as it stands, he would probably, I don't think he'd overtake, but he'd be poised to be much closer. Rez still in lead of things. Ben, he is holding on into that DRS range on the Red Bull on the softs.
Yeah, I think DRS will be activated coming onto this next lap, but now we look at Combined. He's going to have to try and make a move on Kojak, I reckon, into turn 2 again. Kojak won't have the DRS that he does, but I think as they're coming, actually no, the detection point is late here. It's actually right at the start of the zone, so I reckon they will have DRS indeed. Combined usually will, as will Eccentric, and he'll be looking to maybe make a move on his teammate, but firstly, Combined is very close to Kojak alongside, and it looks like this is going to be an easy move, and he's done it before the braking zone is look in front, and Matt has to go on the runoff at turn 2. And now Eccentric is coming around the outside of Kojak at turn 3 on the edge of grip, really pushing those medium tires, but he's made a move through turn 4, and now both Ferraris have dealt with Kojak in the space of 3 corners, as Kojak also managed to pick himself up a 3-second time penalty during that exchange. Just Cello now looks to be closing up on Matt.
Yeah, Cello on the rear of Matt here, and really pushing for that 4th place. There's a slight tyre advantage here in the McLaren's favour. And here we go, DRS enabled for the McLaren. Can he get the move down into turn 13? Looks for it around the outside of 12, down up the inside into 13, and as easy as you like, the McLaren slots past the Alfa Romeo, and there's nothing Matt can do about that. And with the extra pit stop that he has to do, it's a big spin. The Alfa Romeo is into the wall, end plates off, and that, as you gotta say, is race over for Matt. He drops to 10th place. And he'll probably be behind Mikau and Sandisi. Well, maybe not. He'll be behind them or just in front of them, but it won't be long until they drop. Rez, he's dropping to Ben the Bear, showcasing the Thai driver's pace. the two Ferraris. Will we see an exchange here? Before we do, we might see an exchange between Captain of Gold and Kojak. Captain up the inside into turn 1. He sneaks up into 7th place. Here goes Combine as a look at his teammate. Realizes that that's not going to work for him and backs out of the move.
Yeah, it's unfortunate for Matt, helped by that early safety car, but just was having drivers pass him left and right. And sadly, it's not the first time we've seen him have an incident or spin out in this league. Quite a few DNFs for the British driver. But hopefully he can recover, maybe hope for another safety car as he's gone onto the hard tyres and he will have had his wing repaired and he actually will come out behind Mikau and pass. I don't think he'll be behind Sandizi, he'll be between those who crashed early on as Dorshui was right up behind Kojak there. I missed that, but it looks like Dorshui seems to have a small pace advantage over the hard tyres that Kojak is using at the moment, as we also see both Ferraris currently 5th and 6th and maybe Eccentric trying to tow combined YouTuber up to Cello.
Yeah, time to sort of get locked into the battles now. Cello really on for a possible podium here. He's had one so far. Now, with Remco ahead on the hards, if he could get past, get a gap to the Dutch driver, Rez has to pit, and that's worth mentioning here. Mikau, he's sort of down in 10th place, a long way off the rest of this grid. You can see that.
Matt's had another incident. I think he has
no
he spun his
damage.
gain out of the way of Sandizi. He was going very slowly, so I think he might spun again. Maybe he will call it a day here and retire in the pits. I'm not quite sure, but
back to the front. Cello looking for it around the outside of 2. Sorry to interrupt. Kormanic doesn't get it done. Remco putting on a great defense. Dorshui, though, you were mentioning earlier, he was getting close back to Cello, though, up the inside of turn 3.
Oh, that never ends well, and it almost didn't end well for these two. But Remco managed to hold off Cello, just a tiny bit of contact, and we actually missed a change for the lead a lap or so ago. But Ben the Bear has taken the lead and is now pulling away from Rez, already 9/10 and might try and break that DRS. But Rez is doing a decent job to stick with him, as it looks like Kojak and Dorshui are going at it. And Dorshui almost spins coming out of turn 5. Very close racing here between a lot of drivers spread across this grid, and it's quite hard to follow for us as Kojak goes slightly wide and Dorshui might have an opportunity into turn 13 here.
Yeah, Ben, his move, we caught it on camera. It was just a fairly cut and dry move down into turn 2 with DRS when it got enabled. Dorshui picks up a 3-second time penalty, so I do believe that puts him on par with the Renault. He will have an excellent run on as they go down the DRS straight at the back of this track, and up into P8 goes the Williams. That move looking like it was going to happen for quite some time. Cello still on the rear of Remco Van Putten. Can he find it down into turn 2? A little bit off as they come out of 16, but DRS should close the gap. I don't know if he'll be close enough, though, for the overtake.
Yeah, and now Ben the Bear has really pulled away from Rez now, 1.5 seconds, as Matt picks up, I think, another penalty. So Matt's sort of all over the place now. He'll definitely have lost motivation after a couple of mistakes right at the back of the hill, but he can certainly come back still for points as Cello is going to be closing up on Remco once again using the DRS, but Captain of Gold looking to the outside of Combine, not quite going to make it, but trying to break up the two Ferraris, put himself in between them in a Ferrari sandwich, but round the outside of turn 3, that's always difficult. We saw it pulled off earlier, but it didn't end so well for Remco and Cello. But now looking down the inside of turn 4, slightly later on the brakes, leaves room on the outside, but Combined runs off the track anyway. And they're right alongside, but it looks like Combined will come out on top at turn 5. So another position gained for Captain or Gold, gaining on Combined YouTuber, as we see another position swap. Turn 4 and turn 5, having led into it from turn 3, seems to be a decent overtaking spot here on this track, as we see penalties coming into effect for a couple drivers further down, but for all those at the top, there are no penalties in play at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. Nice to see Captain get that move done there. He has really been carving his way through this field. Cello close to the rear of Remco Van Putten. Remco a little bit of a lock-up down into turn 13. Not going to worry him, though. Combined YouTuber also failing to get past Captain of Gold there. Even if you can get the move, sometimes you just want to avoid it through turn 13 there, because it gives the other person the opportunity to come back at you down the DRS straight into turn 2. Obviously, if there's a lot of pace difference, then it's not usually a worry. Matt there picking up another penalty. Really struggling, as you were saying, in that Alfa Romeo. Lap 11 now. Apparently, well, Rez could be coming into the pit lane according to the in-game tired graphic. Get off of those starting softs. I would not be surprised to see it. Cello not close enough once again to find a way past Combined YouTuber. He's not close enough either to get Captain of Gold down into turn 2.
Yeah, Captain of Gold hasn't really pulled away from Combine much, and Combine really had a proper look down into turn 13, just backed out just in time to not make contact at the apex, but he is sticking well with Captain, and maybe they can both catch up to Eccentric, as Combine actually has lost time over the last few laps, partly through battling with Captain of Gold. He lost time to his teammate in the Ferrari, Eccentric, but all these guys on mediums, they might be gaining, but Cello, he is certainly right behind Remco, but not really close enough to make a move at any point, and he's using the DRS to help him stay within the DRS range and keep close to Remco's. Remco runs slightly wide there, and track limits may have an effect, indeed penalties may have an effect when we come to the closing 3 laps. No one really having a penalty in the top 7 yet, but a couple may have warnings. I can check that right now, but interested to see if Rez will pit at this point, as he's coming through turn 15 and turn 16, and his the HUD says that he is prepared to pit, and it looks like he will be coming into the pits. You have to be careful with the white line here. You can incur a penalty if you go over, but he does very well to avoid it and very well to get under the speed limit.
Yeah, Remco, interesting enough, has a huge battery advantage over Cello here, and that could really aid him in the back end of this race. Now, you know, burning it here to protect himself from the McLaren behind, and you can see that just really hurts the DRS run here. Eccentric's not too far off either from getting past on ERS. Cello, 0% battery as they come down into turn 2. He's looking for it late around the outside of turn 2. Has to take the slip road. And does this give a move to Eccentric? He is now going to close in by about 3/10. This gives the Ferrari DRS here. Now, this means that he is going to have DRS down turn 13 and really open him up for a possible move into turn 2 on the McLaren in a couple laps time, maybe even on lap 13. And see what the Ferrari is capable of. But look at the time. He has gained now 4/10, 3/10 the gap to the McLaren ahead. He is flying right now. And Cello, he's struggling because of that latter battery. And this is going to be even better news for Remco. Remco on this restart. We thought the HUDs might not be the call. There was that incident with Sandeezy and Mikau and Matt. That took them out of it. And Matt crashed, of course. That took him out of it. And now there's a battle for P3 behind Remco as there's... well, speaking of issues for Matt, there's a big one. Crashed out of turn 2 on the entrance to turn 3. We're not going to have to get a view of that Alfa Romeo, I don't think, but it is unfortunate he is out of this race now.
Yeah, that is a strange place to crash, and I was going to note earlier, I think I saw Matt taking the escape, or maybe it was Cello, and we saw once again last lap someone having to go to the escape road as Cello tried it around the outside, but actually the polystyrene board indicating where they should go to take the runoff accordingly has been removed, as we saw. I believe it happened in real life last year, so that might be a bit of confusion for the stewards as there's no guide as to where the drivers have to go. But I think if the drivers don't gain time and go an acceptable distance towards where they were expected to go, it will be fine. As Combine is right behind Captain of Gold. Captain of Gold hasn't been able to pull away at all, and Captain of Gold, they're about even on ERS, and they're not catching Eccentric, who's really catching Cello and Remco, but they're not catching those 3 at all. So interested to see how this dynamic is between the top 6 or so drivers, a group of 3 for 2nd to 4th. But the gaps around 6-7 tenths of a second mean that you can't really make an overtake, but you can try and stay within the DRS range, and maybe when someone makes a mistake, pounce on that mistake.
So just a word coming across there about Matt. Matt had a screen freeze that caused that crash. So very, very unfortunate for the Alfa Romeo driver. Has not been his day, but now he is out. And that is very, very unfortunate for a man who scored a lot of points last time out in Singapore. His best ever finish. Now, goodbye, Jushu. Down towards turn 13. Can he find a move on Captain of Gold here? It won't be, but he's close. And his teammate as well, Eccentric, close behind Cello for a possible move, but Cello has DRS to defend against this move on Remco Van Putten, but Remco's slightly starting to pull ahead. Let's have a look at Cello's battery. He's gained a little bit more, starting to equalize on Remco. You can see there how powerful the battery regeneration is. Here goes Eccentric, really pushing. I don't think it's going to be enough though, and it won't be. He's too far back. He has a look, but that's a bit optimistic to have a look there.
Yeah, and that's almost all the ZRS gone, but it's really only Cello who has a significant amount of ERS out of these 3, and Ben the Bear pulling away by 10 seconds. He has plenty for himself. just trying to keep it smooth here. But Remco, maybe the hards will come into it towards the end of the race as the mediums start to wear out, as we also see Combined once again behind Captain of Gold. Maybe he's looking to save up some EOS as they're about equal on 30% each. But yeah, nothing really happening here. Not the easiest track to overtake, but opportunities can certainly open themselves up at turn 13 and turn 2, as you said earlier. But Cello just losing out slightly to Remco, and Remco maybe now starting to gain a bit of a pace advantage as he runs wide again at turn 10. So just using the whole track and a bit more there, and we can see that he actually has 3 warnings. I assume one of them is for a incident, so that's probably 2 warnings for track limits here. Maybe just gains 1 right there. So interested to see if he'll have to be extra careful now for the remaining half of this race, as we are halfway through this race. And Combined now again 4 tenths behind Captain O'Gold. We'll see if either of them can do anything to... actually Combined's lost some time through those tricky turn 15 and turn 16, but again onto the main straight. Can Cello or Eccentric do anything for P2 or for P3?
Yeah, here they go. Once more coming through turn 1. And for Remco Van Putten to still be sitting in P2, it's been quite impressive. But his run might end here. He swings to the inside. He knows that's a great defense. Later on the brakes for the Red Bull driver. And he just holds off the McLaren, really bringing Eccentric into play here. I don't think the Ferrari will have anything to say about it. But Remco Van Putten proving that he is still one of the best defensive drivers in this league. He does like to get his elbows out, and Cello just felt the full brunt of that there. You had to say that run looked like it was the one, but it wasn't to be, as Remco Van Putten just says no thank you, shows Cello the outside, and then brakes later. He is absolutely beautiful in control of that car. His defense is sublime, and he holds on to P2 right now. Combined still failing to get past Captain here as well, so nothing doing for either Ferraris, but this really has brought Eccentric into the rearview mirror of Cello a little bit more. He's struggling a bit for pace around the mid portion of this track, and that's really hurting his ability to run at Cello, who's obviously got that DRS as well. Cello, though, really close to the rear of Remco Van Putten now. He is all over the gearbox of this Red Bull. Can he get anything done in through lap 16 here? Ben the Bear crossing onto lap 16. We are well and truly over the halfway point. Now it's 27 laps, about 11 to go. Here we go.
We saw Cello really have to back out as Remco defended the inside. And the inside line is very strong in F1, especially in this MRL, considering the rules that we race under. But Cello again closing up on Remco, gets the gap down to 2 tenths, 1 tenth right behind him, even slightly overlapping. Once again sends it around the outside, once again has to go off track, take to the runoff, and once again Eccentric isn't quite close enough to take advantage.
Yeah, you gotta get nice and close there. Really tighten up to the car in front if you're able to take advantage there. The problem is that slip road is so fast. You could take it if you're planning to take it, know that it might go badly, then you can just sort of dart into it, get through fairly scot-free, and the game shouldn't give you a penalty either, provided you slow down enough and get through on the left-hand side of that polystyrene board you mentioned earlier, which might not exist anymore. Also worth pointing out, Mikau is closing in for P10. And here goes Eccentric, sorry. Can he get the move done? He can. Up into P3 he goes. I didn't really see a huge advantage in pace there, but somehow the Ferrari has managed to get through here. So brilliant stuff from him. Now he just needs to make sure that he can defend against Cello. Battery absolutely identical. So really, it's just about who's it better. Sandeezy down in P11. No points for him right now. And that another penalty. It doesn't look like there's going to be any. Mikau, 17 seconds off the back of Rez right now. Rez, ever since he pitted for those mediums 2 laps ago, hasn't really been able to do much. But will he be able to overtake the likes of Kojak now with the benefit of those tyres and DRS? Down into turn 2. Remco holds P2 and Eccentric holds P3 as well. Cello now starting to fall off. Can Combined find anything? Not to be for him. And we'll see how the rest of this provides out.
Combined gets close, but not quite close enough. With 2 tenths of a gap coming through turn 3, he needs that straight to be just a bit longer. But now we'll see if Eccentric can do anything to get through this very aggressive and very efficient defense put up by Remco. in the remaining 10 laps if he can get past, if those hards maybe start to become stronger than the mediums were. It'll be interesting to see with 10 laps to go if Remco can continue to hold off these medium runners. And actually, Eccentric having tyres that are 1 lap older than Cello and Captain of Gold, and this small difference could be all the difference when it comes to the last 3 laps fighting for a podium position.
Yeah, we're going to see, positions start to become under threat with the hard starting to liven up a little bit. One person who won't be fearful of that is Rez here in the Red Bull. He's in the points given, the tyre strategy and how many people are in this race. Now, the Red Bull slides around the outside of the Renault of Kojak there. Not really any fuss for him. Now, on the fresher mediums, really able to open this car up, push a bit, and maybe find some more positions in the likes of Dorsey. And if he can catch Combined, well, let's see what happens there. Those two have been finding out. Combined and Captain of Gold. Eccentric now really pushing. Cello is dropping on the back of this fight. And now Eccentric, you've got to say, this looks like a good run down into turn 2. Around the outside, Remco defends. Cello, oh, Eccentric! A big crash. He's still in this race. Gets it back onto the track here. There goes Captain. There goes, well, Combined actually not coming through. He will now. The Captain's actually extended the gap to Combined. And that is very, very unfortunate. Matt did it not a few laps ago. Now we see Eccentric do it. And it is so unfortunate to see the Ferrari there have that problem wiped out of the battle. And that has really sort of run racing to a halt here in Russia. No VSC, no safety car. We've seen late safety cars really play a role here, get everyone onto some softs in Russia. But now, it really is a 2-horse race for those final podium positions. Remco and Cello. It's just a case of which order they will be sitting in right now. With the insurance policy that the hards will retain their pace to the end, Kulmanik, it seems that, well, Remco's the clear favourite for that P2.
Yeah, Remco's the advantage, but Cello maybe just try and sit in the DRS zone and gain some ERS and then have a go when it comes to the last few laps. I'm going to be honest, I think Remco's defense was a bit too aggressive there against Eccentric and maybe against Cello before, but we'll see if it gets reported and if the stewards will have anything to say about it. As in my view, he was simply pushing the other drivers off the track. Maybe we have 8 laps or so to go. We'll see if he can continue to defend from Cello as Eccentric gets a 5-second penalty, retires from the session in the pit lane, and he might be a bit annoyed about being pushed off, to be honest, as he crashed in the same place that we believe that Matt crashed, but Matt apparently has a screen free, so that is slightly different.
Yeah, absolutely, and I'm surprised he's retired the car there. Definitely could have still scored a point or two. Got up to the softs, maybe even set fastest lap of the race here in the late stages, and could have beaten Sandinzi there. Sandinzi with a penalty, so when points are so important at this late stage, there's only now 5 races left for the Ferrari driver to score points in this championship. It is, every point matters, and he could have scored 1, maybe even 2 points here in this evening for them in the Asian Pacific region. This race is 4, obviously for us. It's afternoon in Europe, but very unfortunate to see him retire the car here. Cello on the rear of Remco has been catching and has been holding, like you were saying. Has he been able to harvest ERS? Not really. Remco actually still holds a very small advantage in the battery department. We'll see whether that changes hands over the course of the next few laps. Also worth noting, Captain of Gold has finally pulled out that 1.2 second gap. He does seem to have had the pace advantage through the mid portion of this race. And now we're seeing that realized in the timing tower. Rez has caught Dorsui very quickly. Tire advantage really huge, it would seem, for the Red Bull. And he could be on for potentially a top 5 if he keeps this level of pace up. He is all over the gearbox of the Williams. Wants to be slow into the penultimate corner so he can be a bit faster through the final corner. Doesn't want his exit impeded here so he can get the best run he can. Overtake enabled for him. Dorsui also pushing with a huge advantage in terms of ERS. He seems that he's been planning for this. Cello picks up a 3-second time penalty. Could that bring Captain of Gold into this in the late stages? Here goes the Red Bull. Not quite close enough into the second corner on the Williams, but he is there, and it looks like this move will be done and dusted in a few laps time, and there's not a lot the Dorsui will be able to do about it. Rez on these 7-lap-old mediums, almost running into the back of the Williams there through turn 4, but it's not to be for now. Manages to keep it contact free, and you'll have to see that, but my oh my, he is getting very, very close to that Williams.
Yeah, and the penalty for Cello will have a big impact on the podium as it gives Remco a bit of breathing room, and Remco knows in the last few laps he doesn't have to fight too hard, he can rely on that penalty that Cello has been given. But at the same time, you have to consider that Cello might have been given one of those penalties unfairly. But as we see, Rez look to the inside, but Dorsey defended late, and then Rez goes to the outside of turn 11, which will turn to the inside of turn 12, and it looks like he will get the move done before the braking zone for turn 13 and take the racing line through there. So a good move there from Rez down the back straight, but as you said, this leaves him vulnerable. He has Dorsey still has half of his battery, and they're going to come up to this front straight in just a few corners time, but Dorsey can't slip with Rez at all.
Yeah, you can really see that tyre advantage there. And that is a huge problem for it. Sandeezy picks up another penalty. Look at this. Cello following Remco to the complete right-hand side of the track. Remco forcing him as wide as he can, but he can't defend again. And Cello now leads Remco Van Putten on lap 21 or 27. Does Remco, though, find a way on the inside into turn 4? Look at the grip he's got around the outside of 3. Finds a way through. Both cars side by side sliding through turn 4. And the Red Bull now into turn 5 loses out to the McLaren. Cello is still finding grip on 17 level mediums. Remco still side by side, slots down to P3, goes very wide as they come through 7, and Cello is up into P2. The McLaren driver, it's been quite the week for the McLaren squad. And well, now they've got another podium finish here, it would look like. We do have to remember, though, there is a penalty being applied to that McLaren at the end of this race, 3 seconds. But Remco, he's on 2 warnings. If he picks up a third, it's equalized. This is really a race to track position because Remco, he needs to get past here because otherwise he risks having a bit of an issue. There's a yellow flag in sector 1. It looks like Sandeezy's had a problem. He is going backwards and looking like he's trying to do a little bit of a J-turn here. He's missing his front wing. It's not the first time we've seen it. And now the VSC, yeah.
Not quite the safety car that would have provided all the action in the last few laps, but it will slow it down. It might help Remco just a bit to get those hards into the window. It means that he will have a few laps to try and overtake Cello. And of course, he has to bear in mind that Cello, one of those warnings might have been when Remco pushed him off the track, and then he might be able to get that removed. So he has to fight for the position here, and he's going right to the inside using the EIS and the DRS. Slight contact between them. Will Remco go deep? He does go slightly deep, and that will impact his speed coming through turn 3. But it looks like he will be able to hold off Cello. Cello not quite close enough for any sort of move into turn 4 as Remco slightly alters his line through turn 3. Defends to the inside, and now it's all about the exits out of turn 4, and I don't think Cello's exit is quite good enough to have a move into turn 3. He does have a look, but just isn't quite close enough, and now he'll probably have to wait until turn 13. But a great battle between them we saw there, but Remco, some of his defending has been slightly questionable in my view throughout this race.
He has been, really holding off for that P2 position. There should be a crossover, you would imagine, between the hards and the mediums, and pace advantage will go to the Red Bull. He's been waiting for that point. This strategy would not have worked out had there not been a few incidents that worked out in Remco's favor here. Matt Mikau, that caught Sandeezy out, and Mikau and Sandeezy both still in the points here, but only for single digits, whereas Ben the Bear, championship leader now, will romp home for a full 25 unless he has a major issue in the last stages. And for the first time now, we will see a car being lapped, of course, with Sandeezy back into the pit lane with another full front wing replacement. It has not been the evening for the Racing Point driver, but still, he will pick up a point for the squad, and, every point matters. And we've been saying only 5 weeks left after this one to score points. So,
yeah,
only a maximum of 125 for a single driver.
Certainly, and actually, Sandeezy on the softs might be able to challenge the fastest lap of Ben the Bear, which he does hold a 33.7. We'll see if Sandeezy on the softs, he's got 4 or so laps to have a crack at that time and gain 1 extra point and take 1 point away from Ben the Bear in this Russian Grand Prix. But now it looks like everything's settled down slightly. Remco's starting to pull a gap to Cello. Cello's going to try and hang on in the DRS range, but with that penalty, I don't think he will be getting P2 today. And it looks like the podium is pretty set from here, and we'll see if combined Captain Gold, maybe Rez can catch combined with a few laps to go and provide us with some action in these last few laps. But quite a few drivers very low on EOS. Rez down on 20, combined similar. Captain Adol has a bit more, and Cello, he's using all of his ERS to try and stay within DRS range of Remco's right on the 1 second barrier, and he just missed out. I think by less than a tenth of a second, he's missed out on the DRS, and I think that is Remco gone. Those hards coming into form, and this right laps for them, and they have gained the advantage over the mediums for now, and Remco might start to put time into Ben, but Ben won't be too worried. 14 seconds of a gap is plenty.
Yeah, absolutely mick out right now. He's just got past Dorshui, who had a drive-through penalty for speeding under that VSC we saw caused by Sandeezy's lap. Let's go on board with Sandeezy, who does appear to now be pushing potentially for fastest up. He was using a bit of ERS there to fly down the start-finish straight, and we're right on board with him while things are a little bit quiet, flying down into turn 2, a bit like a qualifying lap now. And he wants this faster lap, pushing again. ERS out of turn 2 through into turn 3, hugging the left-hand side of the third turn. This long left-hander opening it up into 4 and getting through there very nicely for the Racing Point. ERS once again enabled, just dabbing on that A button to push for a bit of extra power out of each and every one of these corners. Through now 6 into 7, using a bit of that inside curb, really unsettling the car now as he pushes now through 8 into 9. This double left-hander that looks like one corner is actually 2, now into 10. This one's critical. ERS will definitely be pushed here to get a bit more speed. No DRS for him. You can see there Ben, the lapped car, or the car that's lapped him here, pushing ahead in lead of things by 12 seconds to Remco behind. Rez now catching combined very quickly. Will hop aboard with that battle when Sandeezy has rounded out his lap here. I think you said a 1:33, if I remember correctly. Cormatic the fastest lap to beat. We'll see what he could do here as he comes through 15-16. Coming out of 16, a little bit shaky, but nothing too bad. You can see he is catching Ben quite substantially. He was saving tyres, according to his engineer, Alex Pillow, through the final corner. Sandeezy, if it was a 1:33, it was a huge improvement. A 1:32.6 now on board with Rez. Well, the tyre advantage now. The mediums really have died off. We've seen it illustrated here. We've seen it illustrated with the Cello Remco battle. And the combined YouTuber, this is very bad news.
Yeah, and just to note, Ben's actually let Sandeezy pass, so Sandeezy just had a slight advantage there on the straight. Ben saving tyres. He's going to try and bring it home, but now Rez right up the back of combined YouTuber now activates the DRS. He's using his DRS as well. Combined actually isn't using it. Now he activates it, and Rez on the outside will see if he can be later on the brakes into turn 2. He is late on the brakes. Combined no chance at the apex, and Rez much later on the brakes, much quicker on the straight, and it looks like that move will be done. Although Combined now having the ERS advantage, I don't think he's going to be close enough for sending to turn 4, or he might have been close enough, but he didn't go for it. He didn't have the commitment, and that looks like that move is done, and Rez has secured P5 with 3 laps to go.
Yeah, no point of committing to that move into turn 4. You risk throwing away P6 there just for P5 that Rez is more than likely going to take back with the tyre advantage here. Really not worth it. There's not enough grip on that Ferrari to get that move done. Now, can Rez secure 4th from Captain of Gold here in the last few laps? I think he might be able to. He is really closing. His tyre strategy here has been absolutely superb, and you've got to say, for the Red Bull squad, it has been a little bit of a rough ride for them. Now, with Rez, a fairly new addition to the team, isn't quite on the pace that Remco has, which we saw earlier on in the season with other drivers, but now they've got a solid team here who was able to score a strong haul of points here, both in the top 5. And I reckon, if we'd have had Rez from the start there, we would have seen a couple of Red Bull double podiums. But no, Rez, new signing already, 18 points in not too many weeks. Now really pushing. He will have DRS. He's using ERS now on Captain of Gold here as they run down. The ERS advantage in Captain's favor. We're on the penultimate lap of the Grand Prix now. Remco, he's catching Ben at quite a substantial rate. I don't think Ben will get caught, but it's getting close. And the medium tyres now, they do make it to the end from the start of this race, but you can see now why Remco has gone for the hards. They do die out right at the last point.
Yeah, certainly Ben the Bear having to save his tyres at this moment in time and just try and bring it home. Of course, less than 2 laps to go. So we'll see if anything happens here. But Rez now right behind Captain Gold, coming back to P4. Great drive after he pitted after the safety car. He started well, he started on the soft, so was forced to stay out because he didn't want to double stack with Remco, but he obviously has some serious pace. Didn't quite qualify where he might have wanted. He was down in P8, but at the back of those 4 drivers who were really close together. Now it looks like he will be having go at Captain O'Gold. Maybe not into turn 13 here, maybe on the next lap. Next lap will be the final lap, of course. So maybe it will be a last lap.
Oh, he's gone to the rear of him.
Yeah, there's a bit of contact there. Rez just didn't quite expect Captain Gold to break that early, and it looks like we're going to see a last lap pass for P4. It'll just be a case of where and if Rez can hang on once he gets past into turn 2. As Captain Gold actually using a bit of EOS out of turn 16 to try and make a bit of gap, but absolutely unsuccessful. And Rez now, it's all about the exit here from the last corner. It looks like he'll get this move done well before the braking zone.
Well, here we go. Last lap of the race. And it is Rez swinging around the outside of turn 1 now on the Mercedes. Gets past for P4. Nothing Captain could do about it. And I think that is done and dusted because surely Rez has a distraction. There is a 3-second time penalty. Then that brings Combine right back into things. Captain O'Gold here could drop from P4 to P6 in the last lap here in Sochi. It's 2.5 seconds right now, the gap to Combine. Captain runs wide, and it is all falling apart for a driver who has been so composed throughout the rest of this season and could have even challenged for P2 in the standings had his attendance been up there, but obviously other commitments sort of brought him out of things. But now he is really, really struggling in this one. Also worth pointing out that Dorshui picks up fastest lap. Remco, he's got very close to Ben the Bear here in the final few laps. If Ben gets hit with a post-race penalty, I don't see why he would. But if he did, then, well, look at Remco's push. He has closed up so much to the Thai driver. And Ben, if he picked up a penalty here through one of the final 2 corners, it would be game over. But for the man who leads the Drivers' Championship by a huge margin of points, he extends his total by another 25. Ben the Bear wins the Russian Grand Prix here in the APAC Division. Remco Van Buren, a strong drive to pick up P2. And Cello rounds out the podium. It's his 2nd time up in the top 3 this season. Rez makes it a Red Bull 2-4, a really great order points for them. Combined YouTuber beats Captain O'Gold on penalties. Captain crossed the line in 5th, but drops to 6th from 4th on the last lap of the race. Kojak, he finishes 7th. Mikkel, he's pushing for fastest lap. Can he get it here?
Fast lap. He wants to take it away from
Dorshui, I think, has it.
Yeah, Dorshui has it at the moment. Yeah, he does. It's a 131.8, so Mikkel will have to bring a big improvement as Sandee's just got another penalty, maybe pushing as well. But Mikkel using all the EOS, can he get it? And he does get it by 7/10 of a second. That is the fastest lap on the race, and an extra point to add on to the 4 that he gets for P8, and that will help him in his championship fight. But he's lost around 20 points to Ben today, and that really is going to have a big effect on championship. With only a few races left, it might...
Yeah, 5 races to go, and the gap now looking, you know, in the, what is that, this probably about the 70-point region as Sandeezy now doing a little bit of a donut to celebrate. Getting to the end of this one, he's had a rough old ride here in Russia, but he does a little donut anyway and crosses the line to pick up the final point here. And that just goes to show that even with a lot of rotten luck, you can still pick up a point or 2 here in Virtual League Racing. Kojak, he picks up driver of the day, the Renault driver. Reserving for Sid, I do believe. But it's Ben the Bear. It is the 13th time we have seen this screen this season. And, well, it's been utterly dominant so far. 5 races to go for Ben the Bear. And he wins again. Remco Van Buren picks up P2 ahead of Cello. And for all of those drivers, very, very good stuff to get up on the podium. The tyre strategy, well, it didn't look like it was going to work out for Remco, but the, you know, incidents for Mikkel and everyone picking up. But yeah, Ben the Bear is P1. Remco Van Buren comes home in P2 from 4th on the grid. Cello from 6th to 3rd. Rez from 8th to 4th. Combined from 10th to 5th. A lot of positions gained here in this race. Captain O'Gold only able to get 6th place as we have another controller issue. Kojak, he is apparently full-time. It's his first race, so congratulations to him for 12th to 7th, picking up driver of the day. An excellent debut drive for the Renault driver. And we're lovely to have you here. Mikkel only good for P8, but with a fastest lap. A great damage mitigation from the Australian, who had a really unfortunate incident in the early portion of that race with Matt and then Sandeezy. Dorshui in 9th and Sandeezy rounds out the top 10. Everyone else DNFing from this one. But cool, that was quite the race here. And, well, we'll get a couple of interviews here in a moment with, of course, Cello, Ben the Bear. I don't know whether Remco is around for an interview. He doesn't always like to, but obviously he came P2. But we'll kick things off with, of course, Cello. And here he is. Cello, welcome to the commentary booth. I do believe it's the second time we have had you here. And, well, congratulations on P3. How are you feeling after that race?
Well, first of all, I want to give a shout out to my teammate who can join, and to Neon in Tier 1 who always helped me with the setups. And I'm feeling stressed. It was a hard race. Remco was defended really aggressively, but good. He was really quick at the end too. I'm trying to pull a 8-second gap to the guy behind, but I couldn't. I saw Reds call me at the last second. And yeah. My first time here, by the way.
Is it your first time? Oh, you must have had a podium based upon penalties applied in Vietnam.
Yes.
Oh, well, there we go. So your first time in the commentary booth, Cello. So,
yeah.
You know, we got to discuss the battle with Remco. It was pretty much one of the only battles going on track. The cameras were trained on you for a good, I reckon, half an hour in that race. But it was action-packed lap after lap. You're going at each other. Obviously, the tyre advantage was in your favour. Then, obviously, it transferred over to Remco. We saw it in the last few laps when he started to extend that gap.
Yeah.
What was going through your head throughout that entire battle?
I wanted to get a revenge on Italy when he slipped away the last second. But I don't know. What can I say? I think he was a little bit quicker. And he defended really good. I didn't want to crash either, so I was pretty cautious. So when he braked later, I don't want to risk too much. So I was pretty lucky with when he and Eccentric crashed. So and then when I got a penalty, I would just want to pass him. I started to get more aggressive. Didn't work out. He was way too quick. He's good.
Yeah, absolutely. Remco, we always call him one of the best defensive drivers in the league. Loves to get his elbows out, and we really saw it down into turn 2. He seems to have just nailed that corner. He knows where the most, effective places to get past are, and he just sort of elbows up. But you did very well. Like you said, obviously took advantage of when Eccentric came out, got the podium. Now, this sort of, you're battling for this P5 in the standings. You're leading this charge. Now, you extend that gap. How are you feeling? Only 5 races left. You're sort of best of the rest. That midfield, the McLaren squad, it seems very, very fitting right now. How are you feeling for the last few races in this season? We're at the closing stage now.
Well, if I can get my qualifying down, I really hope for a 29.4. Today, I only got a 29.9. So if I get that right and don't crash, I think I'm going to be good. Because in the first part of the season, I DNF'd a lot. Was way too aggressive.
Well, Cello, a big congratulations on your first on-track podium. Apologies for that mistake earlier. And I'm sure, 5 races left, plenty of time to see you on the podium once again. But congratulations on picking up P3, and we'll look forward to seeing how much you do in the next few races.
Yes, bye-bye.
All right, then. And last, but of course not least, we will have an interview with Mr. Ben the Bear, race winner. Cool, Manic, I'll let you take this one. But from me to you, Ben, this is... what is this? 10th in a row, I think. Obviously, last week you got relegated due to a podium or penalty. But from me to you, Ben, very much congratulations, Cool, Manic. Take it away.
Yeah, as Unicorn said, 13th win of the season for you, Ben. That is quite incredible. You really have dominated this division. And Mikkel had another incident today, which has meant that he's lost around 20 points to you. So how are you feeling after that race today?
It was very, very, very fun. I enjoyed it a lot. Not the end, though. The end was not so much. But I think, overall was a great race from our side of the garage. Just did... Bido being our race engineer, he gave us all the, information needed to be able to probably pull the strategy off today. So big thanks to him.
Yeah, obviously, certainly a team effort in the Mercedes team. Cello also mentioned how Neon had been helping him with the setups. So, what's your view on the championship from here? So, because I think your lead is going to extend to well over 50 points with just a few rounds to go. Are you going to keep pushing for the championship, or maybe try and have a bit more fun in these last few races?
You know, it's quite hard because, you know, it's also for like the constructor itself. You know, we want to just get it done and dusted as quickly as possible. Also, you know, just to build that buffer just in case, anything can happen again. I will say this like I think 13th time saying this. Anything can happen. So, you know, you may DNF the next races or feel, so it's good to build that buffer. So my mindset is just, I think, locked onto the championship and just, you know, keep pushing.
Yeah, you're doing a great job, man. Best of luck for the next few races. Unicorn, anything to say?
Well, Ben, you say anything can happen. I think over the next course of the next week, I'm going to have to do the maths on how long it's going to be until you lock this championship in. But again, you know, it's been a great run of form from you, a dominant championship. And, well, 5 races to go. We'll see what can happen. And, yeah, congratulations. And we'll see you next time.
Appreciate it.
All right, and with that being said, we just about wrap things up here for Misfits racing action around Sochi in the F1 cars. Kulmanik, anything to say before we do the closing announcements, etc.?
Thank you for the opportunity to join you in the commentary booth today. Great race, and hopefully we'll have another great race in the F2, of course, later on in Sochi. So it's been a great week overall for MRL, and yep, that is it.
Well, Kulmanik, thanks, of course, for stepping up for Seb. It's been a little while since we've commentated together. A bit of a blast from the past, but big thank you for you. And a big thank you to everyone else at home for watching along for the APAC Division. Like Kulmanik said, we will be rounding out the racing week here in Russia with the F2. That'll be myself and Alex Biddo later this evening, 8 p.m. BST, or 9 p.m. for those in Europe, 3 p.m. for everyone in America. But for now, that is it. We, of course, are on YouTube right now, so be sure to like, subscribe. Obviously, we're not on Twitch, so we can't raid anyone, but we will, of course, be watching the Monaco Grand Prix that'll be going on in a few moments' time. And, of course, check out our amazing partners, Next Level Racing. If you're looking for a sim racing rig, wheel stand, motion sim, and that kind of thing, check them out in the link in the description down below. But that is all. So until next time, we will have a great day watching the F1. I hope you enjoyed as well. But thank you all so much for watching, and we'll see you later on for F2.
We are back. We are back with some Tier 1 action.
And that is the AlphaTauri of Adrian straight head on into the Red Bull. And the Kai Bacchini has joined the party, and he's on these medium compound tires in the Merc. This very late braking from the Ferrari. He locks up and he blocks Zamis. And who is that? That is Jean with a fantastic exit, and he is going to get ahead of both of them here. So I believe it's crossing the line now, checkered flag. Adam and Bajar in the first 2 to catch it early. Vettel now rounding the final 2 turns of 22 and 23 here in Singapore. The racing points collect the 1-2. Battery, there goes Ben the Bear now just ahead, taking the checkered flag, coming through the Casio triangle. It's still wheel to wheel between these two. Mick out with a great traction. Oh, what a run out of the chicane, and he gets it done. How's the exit for the Ferrari? Good so far. You can see wheel to wheel coming down the straight into turn 4. It's the Ferrari leading through. Ben, wheel to wheel now with Revo, and he has so much pace in this racing point right now. It's wheel to wheel between these two. How's somebody gonna go? He's drifted off. Does the exit? What an exit out of the Williams. Does he get him? There's a big snap. Jake looking on the inside of 8 and 9. It's the Mercedes coming around the outside of 9. Does he get this move done on Tim? This is huge. This is absolutely massive. A drag race coming through 10 now, down into 11. Here we go, and Zamis has the popcorn.
So Yukio tries to turn in, and Domi just says,
Oh, the stars.
Just for a second.
What a move from the stars. That is the Renault of Van Putten up the inside of the Williams into turn 1. Freeware's gonna get Yoda. Freeware's gonna get Yoda.
Yoda wins the race!